Okay, this is the start of the Puffin picture, and again, it's black and white. So what that means is you don't have to think about colors. In real life, I think this is like orange and red and yellow, really crazy colors. But by making it black and white, it reduces it to a value study, which will help you think about lights, mediums, and darks. And when you squint at it, you can see exactly where the lights and mediums and darks are. And there, you know, you can always go back and touch things up if looking back and forth and comparing them, things look like they need a little something extra. Okay, so the uncovering trick is, if we go to draw the puffin, and like what happened to you, you drew the outline and then you started doing it and I said, oh wait, that doesn't, you know, maybe you went fast, maybe your left side of your brain says, yeah, that's fine, or maybe just it was a thing where you just didn't kind of keep track of where you're going, and that's real easy to do. It's real easy for things to get short or long. Was first, especially if you're drawing them the first time. Practice does make better. Okay, so the uncovering trick is, when we cover this up, we don't have to think about the puffin, the feathers, the feet, the rock, the beak, nothing. All we look at is and say, well, we look at this and say, well, we kind of have this funny curve here, and it goes from about here, and it's just a gentle curve, and it goes to about there. And then we look back and forth and see if it's about the right amount of curve. And then we have a darker line or a darker space here. Now at this point you can color that in if you want as you go, or you can go back later and fill it in. For this, just for the sake of the lesson, I'll just keep going. Then we uncover a little bit more and things will start to appear. Now we see this gentle curve starts to take a little bit of a dive. So it's a little bit more steep. And now we have this kind of funny shape coming up like this. We don't even have to care what it is. We just have to look to see what it looks like. Then here we have a shape that comes up. It kind of looks like like on the Aurora Borealis, when you have those pieces of light shooting up in the sky. And then we have this curve down here. Okay, and then this one also kind of takes a dive down here too. Kind of gets more steeply curved. Okay, you can always adjust as you go too. Then uncover a little bit more. If you uncover a whole bunch and you feel in your brain it goes, you get a feeling like, oh no, that means you just uncovered too much at a time, and so just back it up a little bit and it'll feel more relaxing. So now we have this slant. Now it's starting to slant over that way. There's a little something in there. This looks like it's a little dark there. This looks pretty pointy right there now. And now I can see this is a really nice circle. And when we look at it closely, we can see there's another little curve in here. I'm going to switch to a sharper pencil. And there's a very dark place down here. And actually this part here is kind of a medium, so I'm going to do the medium. And there is a super light place right there, so I'm going to make a circle to make sure I don't color that in. And then there's the real dark around the edge. Okay, I think I went a little too dark on that. Okay, then we uncover a little more and we see that does turn into a circle. And that's a circle. And this halfway tone, this gray, fills that in. And then there's kind of like this other part over here that kind of fills it in, looking like that. This part goes down. This part goes down, this part goes over. Just make sure you work your way across to see everything. This kind of tapers in. And it's real easy to forget a whole piece. But looking back and forth, you'll pick that up and fill it in. Now I see this slopes down kind of this way, just a little bit. And then that's like that. This is I probably should be using something a little bit harder than this HB. Ticonderogas, even though they say HB, they're still pretty soft and make pretty dark lines. And so then we're going to go over here, and this curves over this way. And we kind of have a shark fin shape going here. And then this gets colored in. And then we uncover, and now we see that this came over, and now it kind of starts returning, but this keeps going down here. This is curving down around this way. This is curving this way. And now we have this funny shape going here, and we kind of have some stripes, some light and dark stripes in there. And then this keeps going. And actually this is, I think this is a little more curved than that. There's something funny right there. I don't know what that is, but it doesn't matter, just draw it. We can figure it out later. Here you can kind of see there's a little bit of a fringy look. So I might just make kind of a look like that. And then what we're doing is we're just going to keep on going all the way down and uncover as we go. Now this is kind of a funny shape. It will end up looking kind of like a leaf. I think if you think about what a rooster comb is like, I think that's kind of what the puffin has right there. And then we would go back and we would fill in these stripe places. And then this, of course, is just all real evenly colored. And then we uncover a little more, and then just keep going on down. Okay, so now I'll do just a little more here. So now we have this leaf shape. You can see it comes over. And then this one keeps going down. And now we have this angled shape here. There's light and dark and medium. And that funny leaf shape. Now this ends in a curve right there. And this keeps going down. And this keeps going down. Now this kind of ends here too. And we have all these stripe places in there. What I wanted to do is I wanted to just finish the face here. So because it looks a little uneven, I'm just going to make the dotted line. And then this comes up, and then we have the bottom part, little curve there. Oh, actually should go a little bit lower than that. Maybe this should be a little bigger. But what this does is you get a lot of practice looking back and forth and comparing, seeing where things go compared to other things. Like when I look at this, I want to say, well, is the distance from here to here just about right? And the distance from here to here about right? I can measure, I can say, well, the distance from that white thing to the back is that, and how does that compare to the beak? And then I can compare on mine and see if I'm on track too. It's kind of a really casual way of measuring. All right, so this comes up and down, and we have this. Now when we look back, if we squint at this, we can see it's a little bit gray here and a little gray there. That's where we can come back, and we can use the blender. You can also use a really hard pencil for this. Mostly artists would choose to use a pencil to do this, but as long as you have a blender, it's also a good tool to use for it. And so then we get this, we can get some dimension in this part, and then I think the cool part about the puffin is that you end up with this super, super dark top compared against this very soft looking face. Another thing is, and I know you have kind of a, your style, you tend to color things in using parallel lines like this, and that's perfect. There's nothing wrong with that. When you're doing animals, make sure that when you're doing these kind of lines, you follow the contour really well. And the contour, oops, I'm making him fuzzier. Also to think about is the feathers grow from head to tail. They grow in that direction. And you can kind of see here the feathers are growing this way. So make sure your lines, if you're putting little lines in here, they're following that too. And it may or may not follow exactly on the contour. But it's important if you're drawing the dog or if you're drawing the birds, their feathers and their fur grow in a direction that goes this way. So in order to make it look more real, following that contour and following the direction of growth will help. It will help people when they look at it. They won't say, "Oh, those are pencil marks," because the pencil marks will appear to be the direction of growth, and it will look more natural. It will have a more natural look. Then what you would do is you would just uncover and just nice and slowly as you go down and down and down and down, and you'll probably end up with something. You tend to end up with something that's a little more proportional, just because you've gone slowly, slowly, slowly at the same speed the whole way down. One of the things that's really funky about this picture is that he's standing on this rock, and the rock goes do 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 all the way here, and his feet go over the other side. So really all we see here is this toe, or is this left edge of his left foot before it disappears over the edge, and then we see the left edge of the right foot before it disappears. This is a shadow on the rock from his tail, because the light is coming down this way, and we can kind of tell because it's dark under here. The light's coming down, and even though this looks like a triangle, I think it's a sideways view of his tail, and that's creating that shadow. Okay, I also talked about using an eraser shield. Up here, there's a teeny little white speck, and if you forget to do that, this is what an eraser shield is. And you can get them, any of the art stores have them. I don't think a decently supplied art store would have them. I think Michael's would have them if Michael's are open now. But what this does is, let's say you draw a circle and you draw a line through it, and then you say, oh, I didn't want that line to show, but I don't want to accidentally erase part of my other lines. So you just cover up your good lines. This is the one I want to erase, so I make it show in an opening, and what it does is it covers up my good lines, and I don't accidentally erase my good lines. Now I want to erase that teeny little place there, and now I can erase, and I don't have to worry about erasing my good lines, and it can be very accurate. So what this has to do with the eye is that these little dots are a really good way. If you say, oh, I accidentally colored in too much of that reflection, you use the dot, you line it up, and you erase. I guarantee it's probably going to be too big of a place that you erase, but you can color it back in, part of it, and then you have your reflection. Your reflection is there. Like, I guarantee, it's a pretty big hole, but it'll help you get back in and get a reflection back in there. Okay. Sometimes parts of these drawings just call to me and I have to work on them. Another thing is you can also blend in the very dark areas. If you can't see any little lines or anything and you want it to look super dark, it'll blend your lines together pretty well. Okay, so that's the eraser shield, and that's the puffin. I'll keep this one short. The next one we'll talk about is the raccoon.